firmly believe everything Gruden is saying at this point, since he has made a number of interesting decisions. See, do the Raiders player have a right to be upset with the way Gruden's handled the housekeeping on this team so far?
Of course it is. I mean, NFL players life expectancy 3.4 years. This is the oldest team in the NFL. Now, you don't put the oldest team on the field unless you think we're going to win right now. So if you're a veteran player, and then now you're 2 months into the season, you're like, man, Khalil Mack's not here. Amari Cooper's not here. And the coach, they always try to say, I'll never lie to you. I'll never deceive you. Hey, John Gruden, you need to get that back into coaching. That's one of the things, that's one of the hallmarks of a coach, that you can trust him. He's going to do what is best for you as far as your career, what's best for the team, and he's going to develop your talent. I tell my kids all around the country, when you go to that building, Amari Cooper, all of them, I want you to submit your talent to that coach. But now you got a coach, you don't know if he has what's best interest of the players in mind. You know he doesn't, because you don't let Khalil Mack out. You don't let these guys that have sterling personalities, no character problems. We thought the Rams was going to have problems. We're stupid. Listen, we need as many dysfunctional guys as possible to put a football team, let alone guys who have stellar character. Khalil Mack, what about him? He's a great player. He's a great person on and off the field. Oh, okay. Amari Cooper, he's a great person. Hadn't lived up to his potential, but did make 2 of 4 Pro Bowls since he's been in the league. So, man, being truthful with people, being authentic with people, that's one of going to be John Gruden's problems. I didn't want to say anything, but I know guys that played for Gruden, and that was one of the problems when he last played. Now, when you're on TV, you can't see authenticity. People can lie to you, and it's a lot of people on TV doing it. I watch games with Nick. Nick look at me. I say, he's lying. He just made that up. And being a football coach is totally different, Greg. Greg, you call games. You know it. What he's doing in the interaction and the trust with human beings, that part right now, John Gruden has failed at.
That's 100%. You just preach. That is it. There is no trust in that locker room when it comes to John Gruden and those players. We can't trust you. I don't trust anything that comes out of your mouth right now. Because when he traded Khalil Mack, do we all remember what he said?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he didn't want to be here. Obviously, he didn't want to be here. What? What? Since when does a player hold out, not really want to be? No, they just want to get paid. They just want to get their value, what they feel like their worth is. The same with him as a head coach. So when I look at this situation, you're the oldest team in the NFL.
Right.
You're trading away not just young players, but cornerstones of your team.
Right.
Like, what are you doing? So, and then he says, I don't see us trading any more players. I definitely don't see us trading our quarterback. I don't even believe that.
Well, there are players in that locker room that have said and didn't want to be on record, hey, we thought some of us were going to be traded next year. Now we think, hey, we could be traded next week. Well, you just have no idea at this point.
Listen, he clearly misled. I'm going to give you some names. Jordy Nelson, Jared Cook, Frosty Rucker, Reggie Nelson, Leon Hall, Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie. These are all veterans that had options that signed with the Raiders this offseason. They didn't sign up to be in no damn rebuild like this.
No.
They bought into the hype that here's one weird thing when this show talks about Gruden and the Raiders. It might color your perspective and the audience's perspective of what the general opinion of this team was going to be this year. Because I was down on Derek Carr, C was down on Gruden to a degree, so we had tempered expectations. But when he got hired, what did Vegas say their win total would be? What did the public say they could do in the AFC West? What did my friends in Kansas City do? Call me saying, oh, man, the Raiders going to be good again. Another team. Like, it was beyond the pale as far as expectations for this team to be the worst team in football this year. Nobody had that on the board, even this show that was skeptical of him. And so to have totally ripped it down to the studs this quickly, when that could not have been what you were selling, those veteran names I just told you, it also leads me to believe Gruden didn't even expect to do this. That's the problem with his offseason, not just commentary. You can lie in your comments. You can't lie in the draft, and you can't lie in your signings. And when you go out and actively make yourself the oldest team in the league, you are sending a signal, we think we can win right now. So that was an immediate miscalculation. And the other problem, if you're a Raider fan, even if you buy into, all right, 5 first-round picks over the next 2 years, like maybe you don't like Derek Carr either, might get another first-round pick for him. Look at Gruden's track record in Tampa when he got personnel control about who he drafted, how successful those picks were. Because it's one thing to have draft picks. It's another thing to draft Khalil Mack with them. It's another thing to draft the right people with them.
You don't think this is what John Gruden wanted all along, that this was part of the plan?
Not all along. I think it became the plan.
When did you think that changed and why?
I think
them losses. Once they started losing will bring out something.
Khalil Mack was on the table before they even started.
I understand. The Khalil Mack thing was just John Gruden being stubborn and rebellious. It's like he wanted to put his foot down and show who was in charge. Like, this is a new sheriff in charge, and it's just not the way you can do things with a player like that.
To me, I believe John Gruden was disingenuous from the beginning. I believe he didn't have intentions to sign Khalil Mack. I believe that John Gruden wants to be the only star in Oakland. And anyone that approaches that, even being a quarterback, is going to be a problem. I believe they're going to have a problem with John Gruden. If John Gruden had a 3-year contract, they'd be talking about firing him right now. But the Raiders, they signed him to one of the most ridiculous contracts in the history of sports. And there's a saying, you stuck like Chuck? Man, the Raiders are stuck with John Gruden.
You did this to yourself.
Greg, I know you're a family man. When you're not here, you're in Minneapolis, so you don't spend a lot of time in Vegas, I would imagine. But if you did, and you went to Vegas, and you see those Raider billboards, who do you think's on them? It's Gruden. They ain't got no players left to put on. Like, they're marketing them as Gruden. And the point of him wanting to be the only star and the contract, I think those are all good points. I also think you also have to remember, how did his tenure end as far as why did he get a 10-year contract? Well, Al Davis fired him. Mark Davis, the son, who then wants to strike out on his own, not just be the son of one of the most important owners in sports history with a goofy haircut. He wants to be his own man. You know what? I'm going to sign this guy that my dad fired to a record-breaking contract and bring us back to the glory that he couldn't under my dad. Got us close, but couldn't. And now when you empower a guy like that, who I think has the ego that not only being think about the ego trip of being a star head football coach. Every year, people are like, oh, could we get Gruden? Could we get Gruden? And the ego nurturing that being on TV gives you. All those things come together, and then you get empowered with the best coaching contract in football history. You might think you can do just about anything. But they're the worst team in football. Which is impossible, but it's true.
Thanks for hanging out with us today, Greg. Much appreciated. Got to take a break.